we can't help you. I will get, I know this doesn't quite answer your question, but while it's on my mind, I've had artists that are actually on our roster that will work for some of the smaller companies, Dynamite and so forth, sometimes for years at the low rates that a company like Dynamite will pay. And they'll come to me, Dave, I've been doing this for 4 years. Isn't it time you got me into DC and Marvel? And I say, oh, great. When are you going to give me DC and Marvel type work? And they say, oh, well, okay, I can give you a sample. And they give me a sample, but it's the same level that they've been doing for the smaller company. Because here's what happens. When I get an artist a job at a smaller company, to me, okay, we'll take the small money if the artist is okay with it and so forth. We don't make much on a commission, but that's fine. I look at every job as an opportunity for the artist to learn and grow. This book should be better than his book last month, which should be better than the one the month before, because they're learning new techniques. The more you draw, the better you should get. Realistically, that doesn't happen for some of these guys. They look at, oh, I'm only making $85 a page, and I've got to turn in the book in 25 days, 28 days, whatever it is. So they get into a habit of doing work that's just good enough to get approved by this small publisher paying them $85 a page. They're not growing and improving so that there's a wow factor. So I can then take that book, show it to a Marvel or DC editor who then says, oh man, I have to hire them now. And if there isn't that drive for in the artist's own mind to be better, he doesn't get better. So Marvel and DC will look at that stuff and they're not interested because it's not on the same level of the work that they're willing to pay 4 times as much money for. So again, dealing with the reality of the business. So I look for artists that will not only be better than most of the samples that I'm receiving, but ones who are good with the critiques and will give me feedback that, okay, I've learned this, so I'm doing this, I'm redoing this on this page. One of the scariest things of trying to teach an artist that is just kind of decent, but I might be able to take him on if he improves just one more level, is if I spend a half hour, an hour, or sometimes more reviewing a portfolio. I send them all these notes. It's like, oh, okay, that's great, thank you. And they don't fix the pages. I'll give you a perfect example. One artist, he's on my roster, so not just artists not on my roster, guys on my roster do this too. Decent artist. He's gotten 1 or 2 really good jobs. He was fortunate enough to have Jim Lee spend an hour with him to go through every page in his portfolio and give him a solid critique. All right, this space, you need to rework this. Tracing paper, here, like this. This is how to make it better. This panel, all right, you haven't done enough with light and shadow. And there's no separation here. If an inker inks it, it's going to be black on black on black. Just all these things that would actually help him to be better. He went through it and he was so proud he'd gotten this critique from Jim Lee. He posted it all over his social media. And 3 weeks passed and he comes to me, well, did you get me a job at DC? I said, how? From what? He said, well, Jim Lee reviewed my stuff. And I said, that's fantastic. Send me the pages you revised. And his face went white. He's like, I never thought to do that. Really? That's why he went through those pages, to see that you would learn. So not only should you go back and show those pages with all those editorial revisions, but show him new pages that show that you've actually learned from the critique. Oh, but that's a lot of work. Okay, if you're not willing to do the work, I've got these other guys over here who might be, and maybe they'd be happy to get the job. So it depends on how hungry you are, how much you want it, how much you want or need to learn. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, I think you mentioned you wanted to show some stuff.
Yeah, we have other questions before we get to any of this?
We can go through this stuff and we'll take questions from the audience.
Yeah, because some of these might be good in answer to some of the questions, which is why I asked.
So it's up to you. We can do questions from the audience now, and then
We can do some questions, and then I can jump into this.
does anybody have any questions? Jonah?
Yeah, hi, I have a question. It's funny that you're the head of Glasshouse Graphics, because I actually spent a couple of days at work this week looking up younger graphic novels from other publishers. I work at Scholastic, and I saw the younger graphic novels that you're working on with S&S. I think it's like, what is it, like Super Turbo and
Super Turbo, Dragon Kingdom.
Yep.
What the hell's the other one? I know there's 3 of them there.
Pup Detectives.
Yes, Pup Detective. See, you know better
Pup
than
Detectives.
and
like I said, I put all this together in like a giant Word document. I spent a lot of time looking at like the Amazon pages for,
okay.
your books.
We're also doing Heroes in Training and Goddess Girls, and we've got 2 more on tap to start next year. And that's interesting because I have on my list to be reaching out to Scholastic. So
okay.
if you're the guy to talk to, or you can direct me who to talk to, I'd love it.
Well, I'm curious about how that came about, because most of the other younger graphic novels that are being published in the book trade are like, they're like an author, illustrator, sort of one person who has an idea for a series and then a publisher signs them up, sort of more of the conventional publishing model. So how did S&S choose you to illustrate their line of younger graphic novels? And, how did you kind of rise above the pack, I guess, when they were making that decision?
Word of mouth. I got a call from a senior art director there who introduced himself and told me that he was talking with basically his equivalent over at DreamWorks Publishing. And he said, I'm having a hell of a time because we have a bunch of graphic novels on a tight schedule. I don't know what to do. And he said, call Dave Campeti. I said, who? Said, Dave Campeti, Glasshouse Graphics. They do a ton of stuff for us here at DreamWorks. They're approved DreamWorks artists. We know they do work for Disney too. They won't let you down. So he Googled me. I'm the only David Campeti on the planet, which is nice. So thousands of listings about me. So I said, oh shit, he does, he wrote Hero Alliance. I remember Hero Alliance when I was a kid. And so he got in touch and he told me, we want to build up a line of kids' books. We want to compete with Scholastic and all these others. And I said, I can help get you there. And he gave me this really tough assignment. He said, here's the thing. A book like Super Turbo, 135 pages, we want to do 6 of them in a year. All right, do the math. I'm going to do the math. Right? Okay, so a comic book in a consistent style, they need 810 pages in a year. Now, think of these artists that do 20 pages a month and are exhausted doing that. How are you going to get a guy to do 810 pages a year? I can get it done because I have teams where I can put a master artist that's going to set the style. We'll have a layout artist. We'll have a couple of finishers, a couple of colorists, a letterer. So this team of 5 or 6 is on this book. This team is on Goddess Girls. This is on Heroes in Training. This is on Super Turbo. This is in Dragon Kingdom, and so forth. And we don't miss deadlines. So we've finished most of that round of the first 6 of all 3 of those. We're working on Goddess Girls and Heroes in Training now. And in fact, that one, they said, oh, you're so good with all this other stuff. Can you, what about writing? I said, we represent writers. I have about 12 of them on our roster. And I can recommend somebody. And I said, what about you? I said, I'm running Glasshouse. And he said, well, we'd like you to consider doing, and he sent me Goddess Girls and Heroes in Training. And I started laughing because I said, this is exactly like the type of kids' books that I read my daughter when she was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And I said, I know how to do this stuff. And they assigned me Goddess Girls and Heroes in Training. I've written 1,532 pages in the past year. How's that for a writing schedule while running Glasshouse and while running an animation studio? I'm pretty good with deadlines.
Anybody else have a question?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Christian.
Well, David, I love your answers, and it's really exciting to listen to you like break down the whole process.
Sure.
I myself have started out in animation and have been drawing comics and been a freelancer for 18 years now. And I'm wondering, like you said, that your focus now is the animation, that it's more lucrative.
Yes.
And how does, well, really, actually, I've been actually personally looking for to work with a company for a few years to have consistent work because I'm a freelancer.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to reach you to get that feedback and potentially get work?
Anybody at any time can write, can email me. I'm considering what I do and how busy I am. I have made it a point of my life to be the guy that responds. David at glasshousegraphics.com comes directly to me. And if you're working with me, or if you're someone that I'm trying to train, Facebook Messenger is always open. And I'm chatting back and forth. My screen usually has 4 or 5 screens open, and I'm talking to different people all at the same time. And that's constant during my day. So
that's great. Thank you. And I will follow up tonight. Also, I just, because you manage so much, and I love your kind of, you seem very kind of a meditative personality. And I'm wondering, what do you do? Because I think it's helpful even for freelancers. Like, what do you do when you have so much work and you're juggling so many things in different avenues to relax and then to kind of have that clear mindset?
Honestly, my break in the day is going to the gym. I run since the pandemic started, a little before that, because I took on all this writing work from Simon & Schuster. I will start my day at about 11. I'll run it to about 6:30 or 7. I go to the gym for an hour. I have dinner with my family. Maybe I'll watch something. And I come back down here again at 10 and I work till 3 in the morning writing. And so I'm putting in a long day, but the actual physical break away from the computer, away from any of this stuff is very important. And I find that if I'm watching stuff with my family, it's also not going to be comic book shows. I do watch those when I have time, but I usually will watch something like that myself. So my breakaway, okay, my wife wants to watch Dancing with the Stars, we're gonna watch that. If she wants to watch the, the Miss USA pageant, all right, I'll sit here and watch it with you. But so that's where I'm interested in. I enjoy movies. When I read books, usually they're as far away from comic stuff as you can get. I will read books on politics, books on business, stuff along those lines. If it's going to be anything comic related that I'll read, it's not going to be a graphic novel. It's going to be the history of EC Comics, biography of John Buscema, anything that will improve my knowledge of the business rather than reading the comics themselves, which when you get to the point that I'm at, you can't read comics for enjoyment anymore. I've been doing comics reading. I've been in the business since 1982, 38 years. So it's to the point, any comic I pick up, there we go. Any comic I pick up, I'm going to flip through. And the first thing I'm going to be doing is, no, don't do 2 pages side by side that are full bleed. It confuses the reader because they're going to read it across. Oh, this lettering is half a point too large. Why did they do that? Oh my gosh, the balloon tail is too thin. I analyze and edit as I go along, so I can't read it for enjoyment in it. So I get as far away from the computer screen as I can. That's how I do it.
Anybody else have a question? Go ahead, Robert.
Yes.
In the future, hi, David. Can you give me your contact information, because I kind of missed it.
Sure.
That's why I asked the chat if you can post it.
All right. So it's very easy. David at glasshousegraphics.com. No special hyphens, no nothing in there.
Gotcha.
All right. You could also, if you're curious about stuff I'm talking about, for the past 8 years, 10 years, whatever it's been, I've been writing an occasional blog at davidcampeti.com. And I don't post on it real often, but most of the posts are expanded version of things I'll talk about on Facebook. And it's different aspects of storytelling and preparing portfolios for editors and mistakes that artists make and so forth. Example, you would be amazed at the artists that will send a portfolio but don't seem to know their own name. They'll send artwork and it'll be labeled Art 1 JPEG, Art 2 JPEG. Unless their name is Art, that's not helpful. But if they would give me Bennett Hulk pencils, 1 of 20, I know the artist's name, what the project is, what service it is he's trying to show me, how many are in the sequence. Everything's there. And so I write all about that kind of stuff. The right way to approach editors, the wrong way to approach editors. I give examples of people that will come up to me at conventions, what they've said and done right and wrong. So there's just so much to learn from the blog that will be helpful.
Okay. Well,
also, I have a Facebook page under my name. There's a couple of different Glasshouse Graphics pages. And so there's all kinds of interesting stuff there that you can learn.
well, thank you very much. Now here's my question. I would like to have an artist work on my script. Is there a process I have to go through if I were to contact Glasshouse Graphics?
Well, okay, the first question is going to be, you got any money?
Not at the moment. That's why I say in the future, because due to the I'm very unemployed.
Yeah. one of the
Sure.
one of the main things that drives artists and us crazy is the person that will come to us and say, I'm looking for somebody to partner with for my comic. Okay, well, they're willing to be your artistic partner. No, I mean partner in a more general sense, they will say. Okay, are you saying you want us to finance your dreams and make your dream come true, rather than making the artist's own dream come true? Oh, well, when you put it that way, yeah, it's very simple. Anybody that's wanting to come to us, and we treat individuals and publishers the same way. Everybody gets fair attention from us. So if you come to me and say, okay, I have a project that I want to raise money on, do a Kickstarter, or I'm funding this whole thing out of my pocket. Here's what I'm trying to accomplish. It's a fantasy project. It's kind of like this. I've written one 20-page story. I want to get it drawn, lettered, colored. Here are some JPEGs of some styles, either off your page or that I've found online, that are the kind of style I imagine for my project. And I'll take all that and I'll say, okay, what is your budget? And I can often work backwards from the budget and try to find you the right people in your budget range. You may come to me with a certain budget that I can only afford $100 a page for pencils. My entire budget's $150. All right, I can find you a colorist at $40, a letterer at $10, and make the whole thing work. I have A list, B list, and in a few cases C list artists to try to accommodate those lower budgets. And in every case, I will give a publisher, editor, whatever, the good, the bad, and the ugly about the artist or team that you're working with. It might be you're going to get great results, but you're not going to get a book in 28 days. You tell the artist 28 days, you're going to get it in 34 days because it's proper preparation so that going in, so that the only surprises are good surprises.
Hey, David, does that include project management?
That's part of what we're doing here. Most agents are there and just put the editor and the artist together, and then, okay, give me my 10% or my 15% or whatever their commission is, and we're trying to help the projects along. The artists that have been properly trained by us don't need coaching or don't need a babysitter, because we can just trust them to do the job and get it on time. Even then, it's usually best if the editor and artist just copy me on everything that's coming through. So that way, if an email didn't get through, or there's a question or whatever it might be, I'm in the loop so I can help solve a problem. Part of that is if everybody's communicating properly, we can solve a problem before it ever gets to the client. We had a job come through here not long ago where I knew the artist was going to fall behind because he lived in a hurricane area. So there was damage to his property. He said, I'm going to fall 2 weeks behind here and I don't know what to do. All right, let me handle it. So I found him a background inker. On a few pages, I found him somebody to do his layouts and so forth. So we sort of massaged the project through. Style remained consistent. So we got it done on time, and the editor didn't even know the difference. Afterward, we said, by the way, he had some help on that to get it in on time because this happened. Oh, I didn't even notice. It looks great. Thanks. So just part of what we do. I don't consider it project management. I consider it doing my friggin' job. All right.
Anybody have any other questions?
I have a bit of a follow-up question based
course.
on the information. My apologies. Just this is something that's very important for me. You brought up the concept of A-list pricing and D-list pricing. Can you give me an idea of what an A-list price would be, so I can at least keep that in mind when I start saving up?
Sure. And somebody that I would say an A-list artist is the one that's used to getting Marvel or DC rates. So in the case of a penciler, depending on where in the pecking order of pencilers they are, it could be a penciling rate of anything from $180 up to $500 a page, sometimes even more than that. If they're an inker, it could be anywhere from 100 to say 220 a page. A colorist, it could be 90 to upwards of 200 a page. For covers, it's usually rate and a half plus $50. Unless you're specifically a specialty cover painter, art germ or something, then you're in the stratosphere and you're charging what you're charging. If you're a B-list artist, then your rates are gonna be, 100, 150, anywhere from 100 to that 180 a page range. Your inking rate is going to be significantly less. You're going to fall in that 60 to 100 range. If you're a colorist, it's going to be 50 to 90 instead of 90 and up. And these are guys that aren't quite ready for prime time, as they say, but they'll get work from the secondary publishers. Then you've got guys that are just borderline, and they're going to be artists, or rather colorists, that are going to accept coloring work at 35 to 50 a page because they're still learning. They're going to be pencilers that are going to accept less than, say, 85 a page because it's the only thing they can get. And for me, it's okay if they're taking those small rates as long as they treat it as an earn while they learn situation. Because the goal is always to get everybody better, to make everybody an A-list artist eventually. Doesn't happen, but that's the goal.
Sade had a question.
Yes.
Hi, I had a question. So I want to know, because I know you do a lot for your clients, giving them the artists and colorists, and I want to know, do you guys offer marketing as well, or is that up to the client to figure out how to promote their books?
I'm sorry, I missed part of that. It broke up.
Because how you give your clients their artists and the colorists and stuff, do you guys also offer marketing at all, or is that up to the client to figure out how to promote those books?
I don't offer marketing.
Okay.
Early on, I did. And as I took on more animation stuff, I let that go by the wayside.
Okay.
There's only so many hours in a day, and I'm pretty tapped out. Unfortunately, I don't know any marketing people anymore. The ones that I knew have either retired or gone into other businesses at this point. So
the reason I ask is because I do more blogging and like content creation around comics. So I try to like promote books that are coming out both within like DC or indies and stuff. So I was just curious if things.
David, do your artists like post their work on social media when they're working on a project?
Smart ones do. Because you got to do everything you can, and that's part of the problem. It's part of why Glass House exists, because I believe that artists need to spend their time drawing. Yes, an artist can chase after jobs. Yes, an artist can negotiate contracts. An artist can set up his discussions with a convention when we start having conventions again for personal appearances and all these other things, but every hour that they spend doing those other things is less time they spend at the drawing table. So they're making less money, they're accomplishing less. So we as an agency, not only helping review their stuff when they need it, but coming to the rescue with problems and dealing with contracts and all these other things makes it easier for the artist to just draw. Which is why an artist like Mike Diodato or Will Conrad, people that were at the top of their game for many years, still stayed with Glasshouse because I could do those other things for them so they could just draw and get their work done. So it made sense to do that for them. Other questions?
I have one more actually. So it seems like most of your artists are working in like a work for hire capacity, sort of a page rate or a flat rate.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So my first question is, do you have any artists who are working in more of a typical sort of book trade deal where, they get the copyright on their artwork, they get royalties, that sort of thing, and then
Anybody
the
that
second
will hire them for that, yes.
got it. And then
Go ahead.
yeah, and then my follow-up question is, do you do any negotiating of the contracts on behalf of your artists?
Yes. And I also have an attorney on retainer that does stuff that we can't handle in-house. Fortunately, I've been dealing with contracts for 38 years, but occasionally there's something I'm not familiar with, and so they can come to the rescue and help with any special things. But yes, to answer your question, we have produced quite a few creator-owned projects over the years, including some of my own, and are happy to shop those around to Scholastic or anywhere else that would be interested in taking a look. I know that over the years I've had publishers tell me the only graphic novels they're interested in are ones that come from a really personal point of view, that they weren't interested in, fantasy or sweeping epics or big adventures. They wanted, personal stories about someone's teenage years when they wore braces, okay, fine. But we have people that can do that. I can do that, but fortunately, with a talent roster of over 200 people, we can deliver pretty much anything a client would need. Let me show you something. I'm going to try this share screen thing here. Now we're going to see if we can make this work. All right, I'm going to pull up this. You can see my desktop? Can everybody see my desktop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to try something here. I hope it works and I don't embarrass myself too much. Let's see, give me a moment here. Well, at least I thought I had something. Here we go. For a company like Scholastic or basically anybody else, we can put together one of these things, a creative services portfolio. That's a cool piece. So you can get a look here. Just about any kind of style somebody needs. The more interesting, odd stuff, slightly more European. This kind of thing, which goes well with some of the graphic novels we're doing.
You have an art director, or are you doing that too?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an art director, or are you doing that too?
I do that. Been doing it for a long time.
Nice.
See, you get the idea. Just about any style anybody could want. This was done up for Simon and Schuster. It could work for any of the book publishers that want this more accessible but not superhero-y kind of thing.
Anybody else have any questions?
It's that gives you an idea. Any other? If not, I can just start showing you some stuff if it will help.
Go ahead.
All right, give you an example of one of the things we're often asked about. We do a lot of work for Disney Worldwide publishers, DreamWorks, and folks like that want comic art, in their spot-on cartoony style, but they want it to look like they're CG animated films. So we have to do the line art and color that looks like this. And it is tough when you have comic book colorists coming to you and say, well, I'm interested in the $300 or $350 a page that they're paying to color. And then they give me comic book coloring. It's like, no, I can't sell that for this. It's got to look like the actual movies. If people can give me that kind of stuff, then there's plenty of work for them. Oh, let's see. Remember, I was talking earlier in this about artists that let me get rid of that one. About artists that deliver this sort of average kind of thing. It's just not good enough. We find that happens, especially now that so many artists are working digitally, because they pick up all the shortcuts of drawing on a tablet and so forth. And when it looks like they've been drawing on a tablet, that's the first sign that it's not really working. You shouldn't be able to tell. Another problem is that so many of today's artists have not looked back on comics beyond 5 years ago. I was having a conversation with an artist about his inking, and I brought up artist Wally Wood, one of the great inkers of the 50s and then the 60s and so forth, and was describing this great stuff. And the artist said, oh, a dead guy, so he doesn't count. Really? He's better than this guy will ever be. So it's just a very strange thing. Now, this is an example. We had a client who did.
Hold on, David, you need to share your screen again.
Okay, hang on. Let's try this one. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right. The one on the left was the one that the client did for a Tesla comic. He was thrilled with the result. It was everything he wanted, with the dramatic Thomas Edison face. Well, that's not very dramatic. And Tesla firing a weapon and so forth. And I looked at it and said, why is this so stiff? Why is it so boring? And he said, well, no, this is great comics. I said, let me do my version. So the one on the right is what I did, or my team did, art directed by me. And I think that's what you need to deliver today. So worlds apart. Let's see what else we got. I'm going to pull this up and make this larger so I can figure out what to show you here. Oh yeah, this is something we're going through right now. I don't know if that'll open. This one will. We have this was line art for a movie pitch for a wonderful movie called it's a Doggy Dog World. And so we do the line art, and then we need the CG style coloring, but the colorist is having problems giving us what we're looking for. Colorist came to us, oh yes, I can deliver that. Okay, we're gonna try it. And he's taking twice as long as he should and delivered half the level that he should. Good thing I had a backup plan. Let's see what else I have that might be interesting for you. I did a description for a panel in the book Heroes in Training, where I discovered described this sweeping down shot of looking down on the sea up against a whole city and all these ships going in. And I had an artist look at that and say, you can't draw that. That's too much shit to draw in one panel. Really? The artist I hired for the job did it just fine. And he draws 4 pages a day. So it's sometimes interesting to me that those who say they can't do it really do need to get out of the way for the ones that are already doing it. I run into an awful lot of people in this business that think, okay, that's a dramatic punch. That's great storytelling. And then I look at when I was growing up, we were getting that kind of drama, much more powerful. And I just see way too much of it these days. Artists also get into drawing generic faces rather than understanding how faces work. And heaven help me, if you get a male artist and you ask them to draw the same girl with and without makeup, they freak. Especially if this is what makeup is looking for your Instagram models these days. You give them something like that, they can draw this, but they can't do this and make it work because they've just learned to draw a few generic attractive faces. So it's a fascinating thing to see how some of these artists do or don't learn their craft.
Quick question,
Yes.
David. In your examples for the 3D rendering,
Yes, sir.
is this the type of line work that's given to the colorist? Very tight line work, or is it like a storyboard rough, and then it's really the colorist that has
Oh
to?
no, it's finished. Not only is it a finished line. Let me tell you how this works. We were doing a children's book. It was a Cars book that we were doing for Disney Worldwide. I flew in with my artist at the time, Fabio Laguna. We were invited to go to lunch there. And we go in, and they had a 20-foot screen in the main room. They brought in their editor, their art director, their color manager, someone from Pixar, and everybody's boss. So there were five people there, plus Fabio Laguna and me. They blew up the artwork for Cars, every panel of this kid's book up, and we're making very detailed notes with their laser pointers. Oh, the eye on this car is probably 1/16 of an inch off model. That has to be fixed. Oh, see the coloring on page 7 and the coloring on 42 of the same car. Let's put them together. Oh, they're a little bit off. It looks like 2 different colorists worked on it. 2 different colorists did work on it. Oh no, that has to be consistent. So they went through all that, fine tooth comb, as they say. So you're not going to get rough artwork. You're going to get finished pencils that have been approved by the licensor. So big difference.
We'll take one more question, and we'll wrap it up. Anybody else? If not, I have a question for, well, actually, I can't use that question, David, because you already answered it. The whole advice for somebody.
I'll show other stuff.
Okay.
Let's try this one.
Oh, wait, we have a question from Graham. Graham, can we take a question from Graham?
Sure.
Hi, David. Thank you for doing this.
Sure.
My question is, what motivates you?
I have a mortgage.
Besides money.
Oh, okay. Oh, is my screen still showing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This is playing the first book of Heroes in Training that I wrote. That's coming out in, I don't know, end of next year or early 2022. So one of the kids' books for Simon and Schuster.
Nice.
So everything that I teach, you know, the dramatic layouts, the stuff in your face, everything's not visually boring. You can see here. So everything I teach, you know, we you know, practice what we preach, as they say. Anyway, let's stop that. Let's stop the share. Okay, there we go. So what motivates me? As I said early in this, I came into it loving comic books. The whole Stan Lee stuff, and into the 70s. By the early 70s, I wanted to write comics. And it took me 10 years, but by 1982, I was out of college. I was working as a writer professionally, started selling comics, was writing Superman stories for Julius Schwartz around 1984, before the reboot of Superman, and have kept at it all this time. I love comic books. Can't enjoy reading them as much anymore because, as I say, I analyze all, but I love the idea of doing comics because it's a medium that's like nothing else. You can do things in comics that you can't do in a novel or short story. You can do things in comics you can't do in a movie or TV show. It's a medium all of its own. It can bring some of those elements in from both, but it's its own thing. And you know that brings up a pet peeve I have of the writers that come from the movie business or who use screenplay format. I rarely see a great comic book from these writers because they don't know how to write visually. But when they're using a screenplay, excuse me, a screenplay format, they're not making the best use of the medium. Now, let me show you that one. Hang on here. Let's try this one. Are you seeing Goddess Girl's script?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually writing this Goddess Girls book 4 right now, and I'm about to start page 94. When I'm writing these things, they are all full script, all the action, and I break the balloons down. Most of these writers would do, I'm sure, thanks for everything, if they're bothering to label or number their balloons at all, which most of them don't, they would lump it as one balloon. I don't do that. I think visually. I think about how does this flow across the page? Is this better if I break this sentence up into 3 sentences so it has a cadence or a beat to it? Now, what works the best? Now here, I've broken this into 2 because it will flow better visually across the page. Now, let me go back to share screen again. Let me pull this one up. This, fresh milk, someone's here. It's actually 2 balloons. You go through some of this, bump, 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 bump. Okay, here I broke it into 2. Here I broke it into 2. Here, this guy's got 3 balloons. People will look at that and say, oh, that's too many balloons. Doesn't look like too many balloons on the page, but the cadence plays out better. And it helps pull the reader's eye across the panel in some cases. So all these little elements that help to make a better comic book are missing from a lot of the writing going on today. They're not making the absolute best use of the medium. So it's something that I try to teach all my people to do. Does that help? Anything else you want me to deal with that?
I think we're good. I apologize. I have to go to another we're doing another meeting tonight too.
All
But
right.
thank you very much, David. Everybody, please show your appreciation for David for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
remember, it's David at glasshousegraphics.com. And if you just do a Google search for Glasshouse Graphics, you'll see his contact info on there as well. And it's a great website, a lot of good stuff on there. You can see the artists that he has on his roster. You can see samples of their work. So.
All right. And Jonah, you want to catch me off here? We can chat a bit more. Do you want to chat a bit more once this is over?
Sure.
Sorry,
I have another.
I was muted for a sec.
All right.
Ramon, can we hang on this Zoom room, or is it going to be taken by somebody else?
Well,
you know what? I can make you, Jonah, how about I make you the host and it can keep going, okay?
Sure, sounds good.
All right.
But David, thanks so much.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
This was great. And I'm available for any questions as we go along. Reach me on Facebook Messenger or however else you like to.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Quick note, David, I'm going to formulate an email for you now, and I'll also send you a Facebook message. So please